Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, August 2nd, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, a loaded card in Major League Baseball. First up, we'll start in the NL Central, the lone afternoon game for Friday. We got Eric Fedde and Javier Assad for this Cardinals-Cubs matchup. Of course, Eric Fedde was acquired at the trade deadline for St. Louis. One of their nice pickups. He was one of the starting pitchers that, one of the top starting pitchers at the trade deadline that was available, and he's pitched well with Chicago. 3.11 ERA, 7-4 winning record with the worst team in baseball is pretty impressive. And I think he pitches well in this game. The Cubs have not been anything special against right-handed pitching. They weren't so in the month of July. And when you look at Javier Assad, he's got a 3.23 ERA, but the expected numbers aren't the best. I do expect regression going forward. I like St. Louis in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Brandon Pfaadt and Luis Ortiz are your starters. Of course, these teams played last week, and it was the Diamondbacks that took the first 2 of 3 in that series. The Pirates salvaged the final game in extra innings, but Brandon Pfaadt, while it wasn't his best start for Arizona against Pittsburgh, still was enough for the Diamondbacks to go on to win that game. It goes to show you how strong this offense has been recently. We saw that 17-run performance against the Nationals, 9 runs in another game in that series, 9 runs in a game in the Pittsburgh series. So Diamondbacks offense stepping it up. Luis Ortiz has pitched well, but he didn't have his best start in that last series against Arizona. 3 walks, 3 earned runs, a home run, and that ended up being another loss for the Pirates. I'm going to roll the Diamondbacks in this game. I like the way this team's playing offensively. This was obviously a team that last year really surged at the end of the season, end of the postseason. So I'm going to go Arizona on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Detroit Tigers, one of the best pitching matchups of the season, Cole Ragans and Tarek Skubal. And we've seen this matchup actually once before, and that was a game where the Royals prevailed. And, Cole Ragans didn't have his best start in that last game against the Cubs, but is still in great form overall. Same thing with Tarek Skubal, who is definitely still the favorite to win the AL Cy Young after not being traded by the Tigers at the trade deadline. And I think we see both pitchers pitch well, but I just like this Royals offense in a close game late. I think also bullpen-wise, the Detroit Tigers bullpen has not been great recently, and the Royals did pick up a few key relievers at the deadline to really help their chances. So I'm going to go with the Royals at a really good price in this one on the money line. Next up, the Washington Nationals hosting the Milwaukee Brewers. Frankie Montas makes his Brewers debut. He'll be up against Jake Irvin on the other side. I got to roll with the Nationals in this game, even though it's a change of scenery for Montas, may end up helping him quite a bit in the end. I mean, right now, when you look at his numbers on the road, ERA above 5 overall this season, ERA above 5. He wasn't in great form before the trade. And Jake Irvin, although he struggled towards the middle of the month of July, had 2 really nice bounce-back starts to end the month against the Cardinals and Reds. 2 victories for the Nationals, and 2 tough teams, 12 1/3 innings combined, only the 4 runs given up with 12 strikeouts, only 1 walk. I think he's a much more trustworthy starting pitcher right now, and this Brewers bullpen's not been the best in the last month in terms of the expected numbers. So I'm going to roll with the Nationals, one of the more profitable teams in baseball, on the money line. Next up, the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Kevin Gausman and Marcus Stroman are your projected starters. Marcus Stroman's not in good form right now. He's definitely, control issues. Last game, he didn't have a single strikeout in 3 1/3 innings. And for me, it's tough to back him. But when you look at the other side, Kevin Gausman has not pitched well against the Yankees this year. He's had 2 starts where he's notably gotten crushed, and one of those was at Yankee Stadium, his only start at Yankee Stadium this year. That was back towards the beginning of his season, where we know he wasn't 100%, but still, inning and a third, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs to go with it. He had a decent start against them in his next time facing the Yankees at Rogers Center, but then again on June 30th, 4 1/3 innings, 7 earned runs, a home run given up, 5 walks to go with it, in an 8-1 Yankees victory. And that was when the Yankees weren't necessarily playing their best baseball. So for me, even though Stroman's not in good form, I do trust the Yankees lineup and bullpen a lot more than Toronto's. So even if Stroman makes a few mistakes early, I think the Yankees find a way to win this game. So give me the Yankees on the money line at home. Next up, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Dean Kramer and Carlos Carrasco are your projected starters. Don't really love either of these starting pitching options in this game. Kramer's got a 4.2 ERA, but an expected ERA in the 5. So for a tough Guardians lineup, I think they get to him. And On the other side, Carrasco's not in good form. He's not pitching well this season. ERA of 5.68 overall. Not much better at home, 5.36. Two strong lineups, two starting pitchers I don't really trust. I'm going to go with the over in the first 5 innings between the Orioles and the Guardians. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Kyle Harrison and Andrew Abbott are your starters. So a pair of lefties in this one. When you look at these offenses recently, last 30 days against left-handed pitching, San Francisco's been the superior lineup. They're top 10 in isolated power, top 15 in team OPS. Both teams have very steep strikeout rates. The Giants at 33.6%. The Reds not much better at 28.5%. But I do think Harrison's in much better form. You look at his last 5 games, giving up 1 earned run or fewer in 4 of those 5 starts, including that last game against the Rockies, 11 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. You look on the other side, Andrew Abbott. He was not great in that last game against the Rays. It was a tough matchup, but the Giants are a tough matchup as well. In that game against Tampa Bay, 4 innings, 8 base hits, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs as well. I'm going to roll the San Francisco Giants in this one on the money line. In our next game, we see an NL East matchup between the Marlins and the Braves. We got no official starter for the Marlins, but Spencer Schwellenbach should be going for Atlanta. We know he's coming off his best start of his career, his young career so far, against the Mets, a tough team, a team that's been playing good baseball lately. Schwellenbach went 7 innings of 11 strikeouts, shutout ball, no walks, only 2 base hits given up, and a 4-0 Braves win. The Braves have now won 3 of his last 4 games. The Marlins have definitely improved offensively, but also they lost a good amount of their lineup at the trade deadline, guys like Josh Bell, Jazz Chisholm. So I got to go with the Braves in this game on the run line. I think Schwellenbach pitches well. The Marlins bullpen's improved, but I think the Braves do just enough offensively to win and cover the number. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Texas Rangers. Cutter Crawford is going for Boston, no official starter for the Rangers. And when you look at Cutter Crawford, obviously he is struggling right now. He's given up 8 home runs his last 2 starts, 15 base hits, 11 earned runs to go with it in those 2 games. But those were against the Yankees and the Dodgers. Now you're facing the Rangers, and while they are the defending World Series champions and have a good lineup on paper, they just haven't been that offensive juggernaut this season, where in the last 30 days they're ranked 25th in baseball in team OPS against righties. They have struggled offensively in 2024, and I think this could be a decent bounce-back spot for Cutter Crawford, who's not really having control issues in terms of missing outside the zone, now walking a lot of guys. The strikeout numbers are still there, so I think Crawford bounces back a bit, even if it's not a complete, great start from him. The Red Sox lineup has been crushing righties in the last month. They've been decent against lefties, improving there, especially with the power numbers. And I don't love that Red Sox bullpen, but the Rangers bullpen's been inconsistent this year as well. I'm going to lean towards the Red Sox in this one and the over. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Minnesota Twins. We're going to see Joe Ryan and Davis Spartan as your starters. Right now I just got to fade the White Sox until we see them snap that 17-game losing streak, where we've seen a lot of those losses be, blowout fashion, like we saw the final game in that Royals series. And Joe Ryan may not be in his best form, but he's still, I think, the much better option in this game. I think the Twins have a much better lineup and bullpen to go with it. Davis Martin's first start of the year wasn't too bad, 2 2/3 of 1-run ball, but 3 base hits and 3 walks to go with it, so quite a lot of base runners and only 2 2/3 innings. I think the Twins get to him in this White Sox bullpen, so give me Minnesota in this one. A really crucial series for Minnesota if they want to get back in that AL Central race. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs with the home team. Next up, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Houston Astros. Shane Baz and Yusei Kikuchi are your starters. This is an interesting game here because I do think Yusei Kikuchi is eventually going to be a great option in this Astros rotation in the second half of the season, going into the postseason. However, this first game against the Rays is not the best matchup. Tampa Bay in the last month has hit lefties very well. Team OPS-wise, isolated power, pretty low strikeout rate, high walk rate to go with it. So in a team debut, I think this is a tough matchup for Kikuchi. On the other side, though, I do think Baz also struggles. I don't really love him on the road right now, away from Tropicana Field, where we've seen his control be off a little bit. And I think the Astros, a team that does such a good job at limiting strikeouts, I think it's going to give some issues for Baz in this start. That Rays bullpen was, pitching a little bit better after a terrible start to the season, but they lost a lot of, production in that bullpen at the trade deadline. So for me, I'm going to go with the over in Rays Astros. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Paul Blackburn and Tyler Anderson are your starters. Paul Blackburn making his Mets debut in this one. He's faced the Angels quite a bit in his career because he's been a member of the Athletics. And, his first start against them wasn't great. It was 5 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 homers this year. But I still think he's going to be the much better option in this game. Anderson's got a good ERA on paper, but the expected numbers are not great. The Mets have been very solid against left-handed pitching in the last month. Top 15 in team OPS and isolated power. So I like the Mets in this game on the money line and run line on the road. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the San Diego Padres. Randy Vasquez for San Diego. No official starter for the Rockies. Now, Randy Vasquez has been a lot better at Petco Park this season than on the road, but he's faced the Rockies quite a few times this year, and one of those starts was at Petco Park, and it wasn't a good outing. It was 3 2/3, 8 base hits, five earned runs, a walk, and no strikeouts in a 5-4 Rockies win. The other game at Coors Field was also not a great outing. 2 2/3, 6 base hits, 4 earned runs, and a homer. So I don't really love this matchup for Vasquez, who's not in good form. Gave up 6 earned runs in that last game to the Orioles. And I think the Rockies, while they're on the road here, can do enough to get over their team total, which is set pretty low in this one. So give me the Rockies over in their team total. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Oakland Athletics. Gavin Stone and Joey Estes are your starters. Gavin Stone's given up 4 earned runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. Strikeout numbers have really dropped recently. The Dodgers are 1-3 in his last 4 games as well. Joey Estes has been in much better form, believe it or not. And you look at his last few starts, 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5. Not always pitching too deep into ball games like we saw in that last game against the Angels, but the A's are 3-2 in his last 5 starts. The Athletics' offense has been much improved recently, both against righties and lefties. I'm going to go with the A's in this one at a great price on the money line. Next up, we see the final game for Friday's card. It's the Philadelphia Phillies and the Seattle Mariners. Tyler Phillips and Brian Wu are your starters. I think these are 2 solid starting pitching options in this game, 2 solid bullpens, but the Mariners' bullpen has been superior in the last month in terms of the expected numbers. And also, the big problem I've had, or the big hesitation I've had with backing the Mariners recently, has been their offense, of course. Their offense in the month of July against righties, near the bottom of the league in OPS and isolated power, high strikeout rate to go with it. They made some nice moves at the trade deadline, and their offense is starting to pick it up. Now, they did a pretty poor job with runners in scoring position and runners on base in general in that last game of the series against the Red Sox at Fenway Park. They were 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. They left 13 men on base. That's been an issue for Seattle this year, but they only had 10 strikeouts in that game, which, even though it's not amazing, is still definitely a huge step in the right direction for a team. We've seen strikeouts 16, 17, 18 times in a game this season. So I do think the Mariners overall definitely going in the right direction offensively. I'd be more willing now to back them when we've seen them put together these nice offensive performances. And I think Wu, he's pitching well. He's got good expected numbers. I think he has a strong 5-6 decent inning, outing, and I think the Mariners do enough against Phillips and the Phillies bullpen to find a win in the end. So give me the Mariners in the money line in this one to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Put those baseball picks in the comments section below. And again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.